Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Big 12 football predictions today, and our next team, the Baylor Bears. So as we all know, Baylor's been having some off-the-field issues these past couple of years. Tons of crazy stuff going on. They ended up firing or letting go of Art Briles, who really got Baylor back to into the national spotlight. Last season was their first year without him. They had Jim Grobe come in as an interim. He used to be the head coach at Wake Forest, as we all know. And they started off 6-0 and were number 8 in the country, and things looked to be just going fine. And then they lost 6 straight. They lost their final 6 games. Luckily, won their bowl game over Boise State. They finished the season 7-6. But I know that was a very difficult season for Baylor fans, considering the type of potential they did have. And had Art Briles stuck around, they could have been looking at a playoff berth. But this year, they now get Matt Rule in from Temple. He's going to bring a more pro-style offense to Baylor this season. I know Art Briles is more of an air raid type of guy, wanted to throw the ball up-tempo. Matt Rule's bringing in the pro-style offense, and they've got to break in a new quarterback in Zach Smith. It's really going to rely on him this season to see how quickly they can break him in. Luckily, the schedule is very favorable for those first 3 games. That should be enough time. Terrence Williams is back at running back as well, so that will help. But I do think the defense will be the strength with those 7 returning starters. Baylor might have a little bit of a step back this season, not like last year was a step back for them, but before then they win 10, 11, occasionally 12 games. Don't think that's going to happen this year. Let's find out how they're going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and mark both these first games down as wins. Liberty and Texas San Antonio. Their toughest challenge out of those will obviously be Texas San Antonio, a team that could get back to a bowl game this season. Don't see it happening, though. It's at Baylor. This will be a great game for a great first start for first-year head coach, a new head coach, to kind of see where his team's at, work out any problems they may have, change things they might want, whether it be at the quarterback position or anywhere else. So this is going to be a good start for Baylor, starting off 2-0 and figuring out any problems they have. Then they play a Power 5 team in the ACC against Duke. They have to travel to Duke. And Duke's a team that could improve a little bit from last season, and a team that Baylor should not take lightly at all. I do think, though, that Baylor will be able to go on the road and get the win over the Blue Devils. I do think Duke could get back to a bowl game this season. David Cutcliffe, as we know, is a great coach, and he's going to get the most out of this Duke team this season. I have them falling just short of a bowl game. This game could be closer than expected. But Baylor, I think, will go on the road and get the win. And this is where it starts to get tough. Right there when you start Big 12 play. When you open up the gate with Oklahoma, that's not good. Luckily, Baylor gets them at home. So they could keep this game close, and depending on how their offense is going, because that's what Baylor's going to have to rely on, in my opinion. Depending on how the offense is going, they might be able to give Oklahoma a fight, especially if this game's at home. But for right now, with Matt Rule coming in as his first year, still trying to implement what he wants to do as a head coach, his style of play, I don't think Baylor's going to get the win over here. Keep in mind, Big 12 has a lot of first-year head coaches. You got Tom Herman at Texas, Matt Rule at Baylor, and then Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. So a bunch of first-year head coaches that are going to be going up against each other this season. It'll be very fun to watch. I think Baylor will lose this game to Oklahoma, though, unfortunately. And then they travel to Kansas State, who could be a potential sleeper team in the Big 12 as well, with Jesse Ertz as a dual-threat quarterback and a somewhat experienced defense. Baylor and Kansas State, I think, are about the same on defense, but with it being on the road and with Kansas State having a more of a foundation, a much better offense, I think I'm going to give another loss to Baylor here. And they're 3-2 going into the bye week, which is much needed after you lose a couple of games. They can go in there and fix some things. Unfortunately, they're going to be fully rested, but they're coming out and playing Oklahoma State on the road. That's not the type of game you want after a bye week. That's going to be a tough game. And if Baylor's defense isn't up to where they need to be, this game could get ugly and could get ugly fast. Led by Mason Rudolph and James Washington and a decent defense at Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's getting this team ready for a potential college football playoff run, if not Big 12 title run. Baylor going to Oklahoma State, I don't like it one bit, and I think they're going to lose to the Cowboys. Like I said, if this defense is not ready or this defense is not where they need to be, like I said, could get ugly fast. Then luckily, they get West Virginia at home. This is a game that I do think Baylor will be able to take. West Virginia and Baylor, I think, could be fairly equal this season. They're not very experienced on defense. West Virginia isn't. They do get Will Greer in at quarterback. He'll kind of join the ranks as one of the top quarterbacks in the Big 12 this season, statistically at least. And with it being at home and Baylor coming off a 3-game losing streak, I think they're going to really need to stop the bleeding here if they want to make a bowl game. And I think it'll come here against the Mountaineers. This is the game that I really think they could win. And then they play Texas at home again. led by Tom Herman. Overall, Texas just has too much talent. If you ask me, the offense is going to be dangerous, defense even more dangerous with those 10 starters back. And Tom Herman, we know, is going to bring the intensity, get Texas football back to where they need to be. And even though this is at Baylor, I have more faith in Tom Herman right now than I do in Matt Rule, and I'm going to give them another loss, unfortunately, for Baylor. But look at this schedule. In the month of November, they face some of the weaker teams in the Big 12. At Kansas, Texas Tech, which will be played in Dallas at Jerry's World, and then Iowa State. So that's going to be huge for them. And if they can win only 2 of those, they're in a bowl game. We'll start with Kansas, a team that upset Texas a year ago. Obviously, a Texas team that was not like they're going to be this season. But anyway, either way, Kansas is getting better slowly but surely. Baylor does not need to overlook this team. But I think they're going to know what's at stake. I don't think Kansas will be playing for a bowl berth at this point. They're going to know what's at stake. And I think Baylor will get to go on the road and get a win over the Jayhawks. But don't worry, Kansas fans, about this time basketball will be right around the corner. And then Texas Tech at Arlington, Texas, where they've been playing for years now, at least since 2012. Texas Tech's offense, as we know, should be pretty good. Nick Shimanek at quarterback. I'm excited to watch him. He's going to put up some big numbers this season. And Cliff Kingsbury's going to need to win this season if he wants to keep his job there. So this could be a make or break for both teams. Baylor, in a sense that they need to win here to get to the bowl game. Texas Tech, more so maybe to keep Kingsbury's job and stay. And they could be playing for a bowl game as well. I have to watch my Texas Tech video. But with it being in Arlington, I'm going to give them the loss here. I'm going to give them the loss. This is a game I originally marked down as a win over Texas Tech. But for now, I'm going to give them a loss. I feel that Texas Tech is going to be needing to play for a little bit more. And I feel that I've had more faith in their offense than I do in Baylor's. And neither team has a stellar defense. I'm going to give Baylor a loss, Texas Tech, at the Cowboy Stadium. And then Iowa State, a team that Baylor had to travel to last year. And early in the season when they were really dominant, almost lost to Iowa State, and that would have really derailed the season early on. I think that was towards the beginning of October. This year, Baylor gets Iowa State at home. They're 1 win away from a bowl game. They know what's ahead at TCU. That's going to be a tough game, a tough place to win, so they know they got to win this Iowa State game. I think they're going to get it. I think they'll beat the Cyclones at home. Could be close. Not as close as it was last year. They'll get there, and they're at 6 wins. And TCU, a team that returned 17 starters, including 10 on offense, very dangerous. And as I've said, they need their offense to do well. Baylor's offense needs to do well. I'm very interested to see how that works under Matt Rule in his first year. The defense will be huge too, though. I mean, I know you have to put it all together, but the defense I think will be more so. I think at the beginning I said the offense will be the key, but I think the defense will be bigger against some of these high-flying offenses in the Big 12. We know Big 12 defenses are not known for playing very well, letting up a lot of points. That could be the case with Baylor this season, but if they want to win some of these close games against maybe Texas Tech, maybe Kansas State here, they're going to need to rely on their defense, and hopefully their offense will put the pieces together in Matt Rule's first year. But I'm going to give them a loss to TCU. As I said, I think TCU could be a potential sleeper, and they're going to really improve from that 6-7 record. And that will give Baylor enough wins to get to a bowl game Matt Rule's first year. Nothing to be disappointed about if I'm a Baylor fan. I think I would be expecting this somewhere around the 6-6 to 7-5 mark. Like I said, I originally had them at 7-5, but ended up changing that loss to Texas Tech. But 6-6, 7-5, I think is reasonable for Baylor and Matt Rule's first year. Don't see them doing any better than that. The schedule is tough. Watch out for that Duke game, but that could be an upset. But with Oklahoma State and TCU on the road, and Texas getting better, Oklahoma obviously being dominant, and Kansas State being a sleeper, the Big 12 is definitely getting better. And a lot of these teams could surprise. I think Baylor is just not in a very good situation right now. So it's going to take them a litally time. But Matt Rule will eventually get the Bears back to where they were under Art Briles. We're just going to have to wait and see how he does. But right now, I think they're going to go 6-6 and get them to a bowl game, back-to-back bowl games for sure, just not the type of bowl games they're hoping for. But keep an eye on the Bears this season, see if they can surprise me a little bit. I am very excited to watch them, so just make sure you watch them and Matt Rule, and we'll see how they do. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and please continue to share our videos. We're nearing the end of our Big 12 football predictions. The season starts officially on August 26th. The bigger games start on August 31st. But keep an eye on the games on the 26th. Those could be fun to watch. And we're going to try, if we have time, to do our group of 5 conference predictions, just overviews. So keep an eye on those as well. And we'll see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.